My parents drained the $30,000 I saved for critical spinal surgery to fund my sister's extravagant wedding. So I went public, cut them out of my life, and rebuilt everything without them. Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I've always hated asking for help, but chronic illness doesn't exactly care about pride. I was diagnosed with a degenerative spinal condition when I was 21. It wasn't life-threatening, just life-destroying in that quiet, exhausting way that chips away at your will to get out of bed. I couldn't stand for long periods. I couldn't sit for too long, either. I needed pain management, physical therapy, and eventually surgery to keep things from getting worse. Insurance would only cover part of it, so for years, I worked a crap desk job with long hours, lived cheap, skipped vacations, and ate like a broke college student long after I graduated. Every cent went into my savings. By 29, I had almost enough to schedule the operation. It was going to be life-changing. I'd spent years being treated like I was lazy or fragile because people couldn't see anything wrong with me. Even my own parents sometimes looked at me with that faint glimmer of disappointment they never tried too hard to hide. I thought the surgery would fix more than just my spine. I thought it might fix how they saw me, too. I moved back in with my parents that year to cut costs. My lease was up, and the rent in my city had gone up so much it made my old apartment feel like a luxury suite. I figured I could put up with the passive-aggressive comments and overbearing questions for a few months if it meant affording the final hospital bills. They had one condition, that I close out my online savings account and put the money in a joint account with my dad for easier access. I pushed back. A lot. I told them I didn't want anyone else touching that money. It was for the surgery, period. My mom told me I was being paranoid and hurtful. "We're your family," she said. "Why would we ever touch your money?" I gave in. I told myself it was temporary. I'd book the surgery, pay the bills, and transfer the rest back out when it was done. But I should have trusted the knot in my stomach that formed the second I handed over the login information. About 3 weeks after I moved back in, my sister Lily announced she was getting married. She had only been dating the guy for 7 months, and he didn't even have a steady job. She was thrilled. My parents were ecstatic. I tried to be supportive. I really did. But the wedding planning spiraled out of control almost instantly. "I want a venue by the lake," Lily told me one night, pulling up photos on her phone. "It's 15 grand just for the deposit, but it's so romantic." 15,000? I asked. "Isn't that your whole wedding budget?" She laughed like I was joking. "Please, that's just for the ceremony. Then there's the reception, the dress, catering." I glanced at our parents, expecting them to say something sensible. Instead, my mom smiled and said, "Don't worry, sweetie. We'll make it work. This is your big day." It hit me, right then, how much they were willing to give her that they never even considered giving me. When I'd asked for help with physical therapy 5 years earlier, I was told to tough it out and not rely on handouts. When I asked for a cosigner to help refinance my car, they said they didn't want to entangle finances. But Lily wanted to marry an unemployed man-child in a lakeside fairy tale, and suddenly nothing was too expensive. I didn't say anything. I didn't trust myself to speak without sounding bitter. But over the next month, I started noticing things. Paperwork missing from the kitchen counter. Bank notifications I didn't recognize. When I tried to log into the joint account one afternoon, my password didn't work. I asked my dad about it, and he just shrugged. "Probably a glitch," he said. "Try again later." Then one morning, I got a call from the surgical coordinator I'd been working with. She was ready to schedule the pre-op evaluation and needed the deposit within the week. I was excited, relieved, even. I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I logged in using the password reset. The account balance was $63. My first thought was, it's a mistake. It had to be. Maybe the bank had frozen the funds. Maybe I was looking at the wrong account. Maybe I was having a panic attack and hallucinating numbers. But after 15 minutes on the phone with the bank, I got my answer. There was no mistake. The funds had been transferred out in 3 separate payments, all signed off by my father. That night at dinner, I didn't wait. I brought it up right there at the table. "Where's the money?" I asked, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. "The surgery fund. Where is it?" My mom froze. My sister looked confused for half a second, then immediately annoyed. My dad didn't even blink. "Oh," he said, setting his fork down. We used some of it for Lily's wedding. Some of it." I could feel my voice rising. "It's all gone. Everything. I had almost 30,000 in that account. You're being dramatic, my mom said. It's not gone. It's used. For a good cause. I stared at them. I thought it was a joke. A sick, elaborate joke. But they were dead serious. I told you that money was for my surgery, I said. I've been saving for years. You never said it was only for the surgery, my mom snapped. And anyway, you're still young. You can save again. It's just your back, Lily added, rolling her eyes. It's not like you're dying. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I had done everything right. I'd played it safe. I'd sacrificed. And the people I trusted the most had decided that my health didn't matter as much as her wedding photos. I want it back, I said quietly. All of it. We can't, my dad said. It's already committed. The venue deposit. The dress. Catering. But we'll help you rebuild. We're a family. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, counting every dollar I'd put aside instead of going on vacation, every meal I skipped, every second job I picked up. All gone. For flower arrangements and Instagram photos. The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I didn't say goodbye. I couldn't look at them without feeling like I was going to vomit. I crashed on my best friend's couch, unsure what I was going to do next. The pain in my back was getting worse by the day. I'd never felt so betrayed, so utterly disposable. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I wish I could say that things got better after I left, but that would be a lie. The first few days at my friend Nate's place were a blur of exhaustion and rage. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was like my brain locked every emotion behind a steel door and kept throwing more weight against it. I just sat on his couch, staring at nothing, my back spasming every time I tried to lie flat. Nate brought me food, helped me call the hospital to cancel the surgery consult, and gave me space. He didn't ask questions. He just let me exist, and honestly, that was the only reason I held it together. On day 4, my mom texted me. Lily is heartbroken that you missed her cake tasting today. She still wants you involved. Please come home so we can talk like adults. I stared at the screen for a full minute before deleting the message. Like adults. That was rich, coming from someone who stole tens of thousands from her own son and still thought I was the unreasonable one. A few hours later, Lily messaged me too. You're still coming to the wedding, right? I want you to walk mom down the aisle since dad's going to be with me. No apology. No mention of the money. Just a scheduling request, like I was an unpaid intern at her fairy tale disaster. I didn't respond. The next message came from my dad. That one was longer. A paragraph about family unity and moving past this rough patch. He said the wedding was a once-in-a-lifetime moment for your sister, and that my absence would cast a dark cloud over the whole day. I could practically hear him trying to guilt me into submission. He even ended it with, "Don't make us choose between you and your sister." As if that choice hadn't already been made. I didn't answer him either. That's when the escalation started. My uncle called next, then my cousin. My mom's best friend even sent me a Facebook message that said, "Whatever happened, I'm sure it wasn't intentional. Don't ruin your sister's special day over money." Over money. They acted like I'd gotten my feelings hurt in a Monopoly game. I started blocking numbers. I deleted Facebook. I stopped answering any calls that weren't from work or Nate. I couldn't handle the gaslighting, the guilt trips, or the manufactured narrative they were building without me. A week later, Nate found the wedding website Lily had set up. It included a public thank you section. Special thanks to our parents for their endless love and support, and to my amazing brother, who made this wedding possible in ways no one even realizes. I read it 10 times. At first, I thought maybe it was a coded apology. Then I realized it was something worse. She was making it sound like I donated the money, like I'd given it to her out of love, like I was some silent martyr behind her perfect day. I felt sick. That line made it into the printed invitations too. I found out later. I tried calling the bank again, just to see if there was any chance I could recover the funds. But because I'd agreed to the joint account and the withdrawals weren't fraudulent by legal standards, there was nothing they could do. The representative sounded genuinely sympathetic, which made it worse somehow. That was the moment the grief really hit me. Not over the money, not even over the surgery, over the reality that my own family had looked me in the eye, watched me limp through the kitchen every morning, heard me cry out at night when the pain got too bad to hide, and still decided a cake and dress were more important. I didn't get out of bed for 2 days. I called in sick to work. Nate finally sat down next to me and asked what I needed. Justice, I said, or revenge, whichever gets here first. He just nodded and said, then let's figure out how. We started with a breakdown of what I'd lost. $28,742.76 gone. No receipts, no contract, no written promise. I never even told a lawyer what was going on. Because who sues their parents? Apparently, I did. I spent the next 2 weeks emailing lawyers and legal clinics. Most of them said the same thing. There was no legal standing to force repayment. Some offered hope that if I could prove coercion or establish undue influence, maybe I had a shot, but the odds were slim. I hit rock bottom that month. My health got worse. The pain in my spine was constant. I was missing work. I couldn't afford new physical therapy sessions. I was living off Nate's goodwill and ramen noodles. And then one night, I broke down. I told Nate everything I'd never said out loud, how I'd always known I was second place in my family, how they only ever seemed proud of me when I was quiet and useful, how Lily had always been the princess and I was the placeholder. I cried until I couldn't breathe, and he just sat there, listening. That's when he made a suggestion that changed everything. Let me help you make a fundraiser, he said. Crowdfunded. Tell your story. Not the sanitized version. The real one. I hesitated. I didn't want to be one of those people, begging online for charity. But I didn't have any pride left to protect. We set up the page together. He wrote most of it, because I couldn't. He told the truth about the condition, the years I'd spent saving, the betrayal. He didn't name my family, but he made the situation brutally clear. Then he posted it anonymously on Reddit, on a few disability support groups, and eventually a few big subreddits with millions of followers. It exploded. I went to bed with $300 raised. I woke up to over $7,000. There were messages from strangers saying they'd been through the same thing. Others called my family monsters. One person even offered to fly me out to their city and help with a job if I needed to start over. The story was everywhere. Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. Someone made a short video summarizing the post. It got 500,000 views in a day. By the end of the week, the fundraiser had passed $40,000. More than I'd lost. I finally scheduled the surgery. I didn't tell anyone in my family. I didn't unblock them. I didn't even respond to the cousin who messaged me a day later and said, I saw your little pity party online. Maybe now you'll stop blaming everyone else for your problems. But I kept every screenshot, every insult, every message. Because I had a feeling this wasn't over. Not yet. The surgery was scheduled for 3 weeks out, in a different city. I chose a top-rated spine specialist who agreed to a payment plan that my fundraiser easily covered. Nate insisted on flying out with me and using his vacation days to help me recover. I told him I'd never be able to repay him, and he just shrugged and said, don't repay me. Just get better. For the first time in years, I felt like someone actually saw me. Not as a burden, not as a disappointment, just as a person in pain who deserved help. That kind of recognition broke something in me and stitched something else together all at once. The day of the surgery came. I was terrified, but more than that, I was ready. They cut into my spine and fused 3 vertebrae. The recovery was brutal, weeks of slow steps, pain meds, and a walker, but I could already feel a difference. The constant grinding in my lower back was gone. My legs didn't feel like they'd collapse every time I stood up. It was like I'd been handed my life back in pieces. And while I was recovering, my family finally noticed. The first text came from Lily. Hey, just saw that video going around. Is that seriously about us? It's really unfair. You made us look like villains. Then my mom. I wish you'd talk to us before airing everything online. You've humiliated your whole family. Do you really think the internet is going to care about you once they move on to the next story? I didn't reply. A few days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It was my dad. I heard you went through with the surgery. I'm glad you're doing better. Maybe when things calm down, we can sit down and talk. We miss you. He sounded calm, measured, like he was extending an olive branch. But I remembered the man who said I was being dramatic when he drained every dollar I had to pay for his daughter's lakeside wedding. The same man who told me not to make us choose. They had chosen, and now they were reaping what they sowed. After I was able to walk without assistance, I went back to work. I got a promotion within a month. I wasn't constantly calling in sick or taking breaks to lie flat in the break room. My manager noticed the change and asked if I'd finally gotten the help I needed. I told her yes, and that I owed it to some very good strangers and one amazing friend. Nate and I found an apartment together, not as roommates. By then, we were dating. The stress, the recovery, the late-night talks while I was doped up on pain meds, it had all pulled us together in a way neither of us expected. Meanwhile, the story kept circulating. Someone reposted it with a new title, and it went viral again. This time, a few amateur internet sleuths connected the dots and figured out who my family was, thanks to the wedding site still being public. Lily's Instagram became a war zone. People flooded her wedding photos with comments like, "This dress was bought with her disabled brother's medical fund." Imagine stealing your sibling's future for a party. Hope the flowers were worth your soul. Eventually, she locked her account. Then she deleted it. My parents did the same. They were getting publicly shredded, and they couldn't handle it. One night, I got an email. It was from my mom. "We were wrong. I see that now. I wish you just told us how much it meant to you. We thought we were helping both our children. I didn't realize how much pain you were in. I'm sorry. Can we please start over?" For a moment, I stared at the screen and actually considered it. I thought about what it would take to forgive them. I wondered if there was still a part of me that craved their approval. But then I remembered sitting in their kitchen, listening to them explain why Lily's venue mattered more than my spine. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something petty. I made a second post on Reddit, an update. I included before and after photos from the hospital, screenshots of the fundraiser total, and a thank you note to the community. I mentioned the surgery's success, my promotion, my new place, and my incredible partner. At the end of the post, I wrote, "Sometimes family isn't who raised you. Sometimes it's who shows up when you're bleeding and broke and humiliated and tells you, this isn't the end." I lost $30,000, but I got a new life. That post blew up even bigger than the first one. Lily tried emailing me weeks later. Her tone had changed. "Please, can we just move on? You've made your point. People think I'm a monster. I lost clients over this. I've gotten threats. This isn't fair." I almost laughed. This isn't fair. She had no idea what unfair looked like until the internet mirrored her actions back at her. I still haven't spoken to any of them. I don't think I ever will. They tried to reach out a few more times, on holidays, birthdays, even on the anniversary of the surgery, but the bridge is gone. Burned. Incinerated. The money they stole was an act of betrayal, yes, but it wasn't the first. It was just the loudest. It made everything else impossible to ignore. Now, I'm building something new. I've joined a local disability advocacy group. I talk to other people going through financial abuse by family members. I use what happened to me to help others see the warning signs. And every now and then, when I get another message from a stranger saying, "Your story gave me the strength to cut off my toxic family," I smile and close the laptop. Because I didn't just survive. I won. 6 months passed. It was spring, and for the first time in years, I could walk a full block without needing to sit down. I joined a gym, started strength training with a coach who specialized in post-surgical recovery. I wasn't aiming to run marathons. I just wanted to feel like a person again. And I did. My apartment with Nate was quiet, cozy, full of laughter and inside jokes. We'd settled into a rhythm that felt real, cooking dinner together, watching trash TV, making plans that didn't involve painkillers or GoFundMe pages. The storm, I thought, was over. Then I got a letter. A real one. In the mail. My name written in my mother's handwriting, the kind I used to recognize instantly when she labeled school lunches. I almost threw it away. Almost. But curiosity won out. I opened it and unfolded 3 pages, written in blue ink, front and back. It started like this. "I know you don't want to hear from us, but I hope someday you'll understand why we did what we did. Maybe not agree, but understand." She went on for paragraphs about how Lily's engagement had felt like a second chance at family joy, how my dad was stressed about money, how they thought I would bounce back financially because you've always been so resourceful. She said they considered asking, but worried I would say no. So they didn't. They just took. And then they convinced themselves it was okay, because it was still in the family. At one point, she wrote, "We never thought it would destroy our relationship. We thought you'd forgive us. You always did." That line stuck with me for days. She was right. I had always forgiven them. When they missed my graduation to go on a cruise with Lily. When they told me they weren't sure college was worth it, while paying for her private art school. When they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. I forgave them every time, because I didn't think I had a choice. But I wasn't that person anymore. The letter ended with an offer. We'd like to pay you back. Slowly. We've looked at our finances, and we can send you $200 a month until we've repaid what was taken. It would take over 10 years to get it all back that way, even if they followed through. And I had no illusions that they would. Still, the gesture was something. Not enough. Not nearly. But it told me they were scared. That they finally understood what they'd lost. I didn't write back. Instead, I scanned the letter, filed it with the screenshots, and put it away in a folder labeled Receipts. Life moved on. Nate and I went on our first real vacation that summer. Just the two of us. No pain meds in the suitcase. No guilt in my chest. We drove up the coast, stayed in a cheap but clean rental, and fell asleep to the sound of waves instead of hospital monitors or my own quiet crying. One night, he turned to me while we were watching the sunset and said, "Do you ever think about what you'd do if they begged you to come back?" I didn't answer right away. Eventually, I said, I'd let them talk, and then I'd leave. He nodded. That's what I figured. A few months later, Lily filed for divorce. I found out the way everyone does these days, through someone else's social media post. Her husband had apparently cheated multiple times and then taken off with their joint savings. The same savings I had indirectly helped fund. The irony wasn't lost on me. What surprised me was what came after. She posted a long, dramatic statement about betrayal and trust and how you think people love you until they show you they don't. She turned the comments off. But someone screenshot it and sent it to me with a one-line message. Karma doesn't miss. I didn't feel joy, exactly. I didn't feel sympathy either. Just closure. My phone rang one night a few weeks later. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Lily. Her voice was quiet, almost hoarse, like she'd been crying for hours. I'm not asking for anything. I want to say I'm sorry. For what we did. For how we made you feel. You didn't deserve any of it. And I was too selfish to see it until everything fell apart. I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to hear it from me, at least once. She paused. You were the only one who ever did anything real for me. And I paid you back like trash. That was it. No ask. No excuses. Just regret. I still didn't call back. But I saved the voicemail. I don't know what that makes me. Petty, maybe. Or just tired. People think healing is a straight line. You suffer, you cry, you fight, you win. End of story. But it's not. Healing is quiet. Boring. It's packing lunch without needing to lie down halfway through. It's sleeping through the night. It's going an entire day without bracing for some unseen blow from someone who's supposed to love you. It's looking at your own life and thinking, this is mine. No one else gets to write it. So that's what I did. I wrote it myself. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.